Dashawn is clearing the crust away from the third eyelid so you can see clear. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so this thing should be friggin' recording. I don't know what the hell's going on. But we're gonna try this again. Good day, good people. I am called Dashawn Is. Thank you for coming to hang out. Welcome to Finding Alignment, channel 36.9, which is my YouTube channel. Check this out. The other day, I was fell down the rabbit hole on some YouTube shit, and I was looking at these stories about doppelgangers. You know what a doppelganger is? I think it's a German word, but basically it's somebody who looks exactly like someone else, but they're not blood related. So they might act the same, have the same habits, or the way they walk, or whatever. But basically, it's your twin from another mother. And if you look them up, like there's all kinds of these stories throughout history. Some of them have some superstition attached to them, like if you see your own doppelganger, it means you're gonna die. I don't know about all that because some of the stories that I read, people didn't die right away. But anyway, I bring this up because I have a few stories of my own. Like one of them is something that me and a friend witnessed, and then the other two stories have to do with me. So yeah, let me tell you about this first one. So back in the 90s, I used to roll burritos at this really popular burrito restaurant in Atlanta, right? And it was a spot where all the college students came to because the burritos were huge and cheap. All the students from all schools were there. So, you'd probably be there with your friends at least once a week. So as you can imagine, with college students living on a budget, you'd see a lot of these people a lot. So you start to remember people's orders. So remember that part. So on this particular day, I'm managing the spot. My man Kenyon is with me, and it's only the two of us in the restaurant. We usually have a staff of about 6, but it's like Sunday, let's call it, 11 or so, or noon or whatever. So there's nobody in the restaurant but me and him. So we're kind of just hanging out, talking shit. I'm up at the register, and behind the register is a long cook line where my man was standing. So, he's just leaning over the wall. We're just kind of chatting with each other. While we're talking, we see a car drive around the front glass and pull in. He saw who was in the car. He's like, oh, red beans, rice, red sauce, no cheese, burrito, chips and salsa, cup of water. So while he's saying that, I'm chuckling because this dude is a regular. So my man makes the burrito. I'm over at the front. I'm ringing it up, and while I'm talking to him, while he's finishing up the order, the guy is coming in the back door, which is how you have to come, walking past the cook station. By the time he comes around to the front register, I already have his order typed in, and my man's handing me over his food while this kid pulls out his money, and he's looking at us like, I just got here, how'd you? It's like, dude, come on, man. We see you regularly. You always order the same thing, blah, blah, blah. So the kid, kind of brushes it off. He takes his little book, sits in the window seat, proceeds to read while he eats his bland meal. And that was basically it. Me and my man chuckled about it, went about our business. And then say maybe like 45 minutes later, more employees started to come because we were about to get our lunch rush. So now we got about a staff of, 4 to 6 people. And now I've got now another manager's coming, taking over the register, and now I'm on the line with Kenyon, and we rolling burritos, right? Boom, 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 banging them out. The line's coming up, and I always stood in the center burrito station so I could face the line, say hi to friends that that would come in regularly. So doing my thing, I look up, I'm like, yo, this dude's got an appetite. Yo, Kenyon. So Kenyon turns around and he's looking at the dude and he's looking at me. He's like, that dude just had a super burrito like an hour ago, and now he's back online eating again. This is crazy. So Kenyon says to him, damn, dude, where you putting it? Because, this is a plain vanilla white kid, skinny, not an athlete, probably a bookish kind of person. So not somebody that you would think was really packing a lot. On top of that, he's vegan. So he's kind of like, barely there. You know what I'm saying? A slight dude. So the guy's looking at Kenyon, and then I chime in like, dude, I'm twice your size. I can't eat that much food. And he's like, what are you talking about? And we thought he was joking. He's like, you ate that big ass burrito. Now you're going to have another bean and rice burrito less than an hour later. And the dude is like, this is my first time being here today. So me and Kenyon, because we're also working while we're saying this stuff and we got a line, we're just like, what is he talking? Whatever, dude. So he's looking at us crazy. And again, by the time he gets to the line, Kenyon had already rolled his burrito. So he's walking back and the drink state, like the water station, is right in front of all of this. So he's walking back, and I can see and feel him looking over his shoulder at us kind of nervously. Then he goes upstairs and sits down, has his food, book tucked under his arm. So he's probably up there sitting by himself reading. So he comes down like a half an hour later. As he's coming down, our line has sort of died down a little bit, and me and Kenyon call him over to the side, like, dude, we're not for nothing, but there's a kid who either goes to Emory or Georgia Tech, wherever you go, that looks exactly like you. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yo, seriously. Same Charlie Brown shirt, like Nirvana lined, those shirts people wore in the 90s that are just like very plain, basic haircut, no frills, no jewelry, no tattoos, just a plain dude. But because he always orders the same thing, that's kind of what made him stand out. And so me and Kenyon are flabbergasted, and this dude just looking at us like we're crazy. It's like, listen, you need to just come in here and post up and sit in one of these booths and sit for all day until this other guy comes in, because you have an exact twin. Dude looks like you, moves like you, same size, and most importantly, has the exact same order, because we just gave him this order an hour ago. You know what I'm saying? This dude was bugging. Never, and I don't. I'm sure we saw him again, but I don't really remember seeing him much after that, or even really bringing it up much. Me and Kenyon just thought, this dude is crazy, or he doesn't know that he has a twin, because that happens in the world. There's stories like that, like people got identical siblings on the planet, and they were adopted and didn't know they had a twin, or didn't know they were adopted. You know what I'm saying? So that's my doppelganger story. Atlanta, let's call it like 1997. 97, 98, around that time is when that happened. Crazy, right? So that's my doppelganger story number 1. Stay tuned for doppelganger story number 2. So if that first story wasn't crazy enough for you, bust this. 2016, I believe. My little sis, I call her my little sis, but she's over 40 now. She comes out to visit in Atlanta, and brings her 3 children with her. So, scoop them at the airport, and we're all riding together. And my niece was like, Mom, did you tell Uncle Dash about what happened last week? Now, that stirred something in me, which will make sense later when I tell you the first part of the story. I'm kind of starting with the second part. But basically, as soon as my niece said that, my spidey senses started tingling. I was like, And my sister gets all excited, like, I totally forgot about this. Last week, we were driving down the street, down Crenshaw maybe, I don't know, driving down some street. And my sister's obviously in the driver's seat, niece is on the side, and they're at a stoplight, and they look over to cars that are going in the opposite direction who are stopped. And my niece says to my sister, is that Uncle Dash? So they both look over, and apparently I look over at them and smile, look at both of them and smile with my, and then we drive away. So obviously they're both flabbergasted. They're like, "What? How, how is he gonna be here in LA and not call us?" Because that's not something I would do. My family is my family. So if I'm around, they're gonna know where I am. Even though we don't live in the same state, they pretty much know where I am all the time. I call, check in. It's fam. So I'm like bugging. I'm like, seriously? They're both like, seriously. This dude looked exactly like you. You couldn't tell me. And my sister, we're very tight. So she's like, you couldn't tell me it wasn't you. It's not possible. It had to be you. Like when you smile, like, you got that, you have a particular smile. You have a very particular face, the shape of your head. This dude was you. You were in the passenger seat in another car going in the opposite direction. And we're looking like, what the hell was that? So, I mean, I guess they figured out on the spot that it wasn't me because my sister knows me pretty well. I would never go to where she is and not reach out to her. So I'm sitting there bugging. Okay, so that's my doppelganger story number 3. So let me just move back to 2. All right. A week before this happened, I probably had been traveling. I think I must have been out of town. I was driving for when I was back in town, I was driving for Lyft or Uber or something at the time. Had some customers in the car, and my mom calls. And so, as I was in the conversation with these folks, and I don't take personal calls while I'm driving, I just, declined it. I could call her back because I'm about to drop these folks off. 5 minutes later, they're out of the car. I take care of business and call mom's back. What's up, mom? What's up, dude? Where you at? Are you still traveling? I'm like, nah, actually, I'm back in Atlanta. I was just driving some customers. She's like, you better be. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, look, I was just driving down the street and I'm at a stoplight in the left lane. And I look up and I see you walking down the street with a backpack on across the street. And she's like, of course, my first thought is, how the hell are you gonna come to California and not call your mother? So she's like, I said, Dashawn, and she said, my mom says, you turned and looked at me with your face, with your smile, with your walk and your look. You looked at me, smiled, and you kept walking. And then she's like, and then I got pissed because how you not gonna say nothing? You didn't say nothing. You just smiled and kept walking. So the light's about to turn green. So before it turns green, I pick up my phone and I called you, which was the phone call I got while I was driving my customers. And you didn't answer. So I kept watching you in the rearview mirror to see if you're gonna pick up your phone. And when you didn't pick it up, the light turned green. I was about to make the U to come chase you, but you were already gone. I looked back and you weren't on the block anymore. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So understand what I'm trying to articulate to you, good people. My mom calls and says that she sees me walking down the street in LA. I know my baby. I know what my baby looked like. I know you walk. I know you look. I know who you are. It was you. And I was pissed that she didn't. And then the very next week, my sister's here with me, and her and my niece tell me a story about seeing me basically in the same area in California. What the hell is that about? If y'all don't believe in cloning, didn't they already clone sheep? And if they cloned sheep and that was on the news, imagine all the stuff that's happening that we don't know that's not on the news, right? I'm not trying to say that I've got a clone because why the hell would anybody clone me? I'm really not that important. But because this is such a phenomenon that happens to people all the time, have you ever seen Aeon Flux by chance? Check out that movie because it reminds me of that. Like, without giving too much of that story away, it's basically, it seems like people are being recycled. You know what I'm saying? And when I think about the idea of somebody who looks exactly like me walking around on the planet, but not separate, like not on the other side of the planet or away from my life, but in the area that I'm in, where my people are, where people might see this person and think that it's me, that's just, it's crazy. I think because it's happened to me, it's very crazy. But I hear some even weirder stories. Like heard this one of the stories I heard online that led me to this was this. I don't remember. I think it was a woman who no, it was a guy who was starting at college, his first year at college, and he's on the campus on his own for the first time, so he doesn't have any friends. But he's like, as he's walking across campus, like people are smiling and waving to him, being nice. A guy walks up and says, "So I'll see you at the party, right?" Smiles at him and keeps moving. And he's like, "What the hell?" And then eventually somebody calls out like, "Hey, John." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not John. What are you talking about? And where have you been all semester? I haven't seen you for a while, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Yeah, I think you got me confused with someone else because I'm not John." This dude walked around campus on the same school campus with somebody who looked exactly like him. And Matt, it wasn't just one person, but he was like at least 10 people, if you can imagine that. At least 10 people throughout the day or the week or whatever rolled up on him thinking that he was John. That shit is crazy, man. That's just crazy. But I love these stories. And if you like these stories, please come back, like, share, subscribe, push buttons, come join us, come join the tribe, and come rock with us because we got more of these stories. And I'm going to be bringing on more people, obviously. As you can see, I got some interviews with some cool people. I will be having some more women on here because I don't really have a lot of I have a lot of female friends, but I haven't really had any of them on interviewed yet. But some are coming up. Stay tuned. And if you got a doppelganger story, please put a comment down below. Like, let's get it popping because I want to hear more of these. Thank you for coming out.